Good. Okay. Yep. YouTube is live. So let's get started and get going with our live side splits. Welcome back, everybody. My name is Ken. We're doing probably 40 plus minutes of live side split stretching starting right now. And as always, we're going to do 3 rounds of warm-up-y stuff, and then we're going to go into 5 rounds of stretching, ending with the side split stuff. Is there anything else I need to address? No, I don't think so. I always forget. Grab a pillow if you can right now before we get into it, because we're going to need it for a hamstring stretch. We're going to get onto one knee. We're only going to need it for one stretch, so you don't need anything super fancy or intense. Just a little bit of knee padding for your legs later. All right, let's get into our first warm-up exercise. It is called the hip cars. Everything that we do for the warm-ups are pretty dynamic. We're trying to get our blood flowing and get muscles moving and joints kind of lubricated. Hip cars look a little bit like this. We're going to lift our knees as high as possible. We're going to open up that leg as wide as possible. We're going to rotate that leg so that the ankle and the knee are as high as possible. Then we're going to bring the leg down and back, flexing the hamstring, flexing the glutes, pulling that leg down and back, feeling that stretch in the front of the hip flexor here. That is 1 rep. Let's do 10. If you are having trouble balancing on this leg, it's totally normal because your leg is doing some kind of crazy things and you have to counterbalance all of this. Feel free to grab something. I have a chair that's off screen right here that I can grab. I have nothing on the left side yet, but feel free to get close to a wall, maybe a table, something that will give you a little bit of support when you need it. Let's keep going. I think this is 4 for me, but since I haven't been keeping count, let's just pretend we finally just hit 4. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. If I'm going a little bit fast, don't worry. I talk so much, you'll have plenty of time to catch up. If you just joined in the last couple of seconds, you have no idea what we're doing. We're doing hip cars. And it looks like this. We're lifting our knee as high as possible, directly in front. We're opening up our hips directly to the right or left, depending on which leg you're lifting. We're rotating that leg so that the ankle and the knee are the same height. I'm going to turn to show you just how high the ankle and the knee are. You don't have to turn. And then finally, we're going to bring the leg down and back. From the front, it looks like this. It looks like you're just bringing the knee back. And that is exactly what we're doing. Bring the knee back. We're flexing the hamstring, flexing the glutes, trying to pull the leg back behind us. The goal is to try to keep your upper body relatively straight. You don't want to move, like this, because that's the same straight line as if you didn't move at all. But it's hard to do both perfectly. So if you move a little bit, you lean a little bit, that's totally fine. All right. I think we just did 1 rep. Let's do our other 9. Let's go. High knee. Open. Ankle. Down and back. 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 I think it's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and last one, 10. Whew. All right, let's take a second and get right into our reverse direction thingies. Ramona says, "Good afternoon. I've had bad knees and I need to get back into working out." Well, you're in a cool place. If you have pain in any of the things that we're doing in particular, let me know and we can talk about maybe slightly different ways of doing things to relieve some knee pain. I don't know your exact situation and I don't know your experience, so I can only try my best from the other side of the internet. Soju Cat, thank you for coming in and practicing. I appreciate. Wow, I'm out of breath. I appreciate you for being here. Cole Woods just followed. Welcome, welcome. And 44 doubloons. Welcome. Let's see. Do you do private sessions? Oh, whoops. The poll just came up on my screen. I am currently not doing private sessions. Welcome from Michigan. And Mick one Kinesis. Okay, now I'm gonna just give up on that. Hildem, I guess, has neck and back pain due to injuries. We don't focus that much on the neck or the back in general, but we do have some hamstring stretches that allow you to relax your neck and back. We also do a little bit of thoracic rotation later that looks a little bit like this. So there is some stuff that can be as gentle as you want it to be. And it really depends on how you want to tackle those neck and back injuries. Some people approach it with more movement that is at just sort of the limits of what is about to be pain and strengthening muscles. If that's not what you're into, then you can skip everything that has anything to do with neck and pain or neck and back. But if you are interested in trying to see what you're capable of and trying to push those boundaries, then you can give some of the stretches exercises a try. All right, where are we? Thank you everybody for coming in, hanging out. Let's get into round 2 of our hip cars. And what that means really is we're just going to go in reverse. Okay, it's the same exact exercise that we were just doing. If you just came in, we'll talk about what reversing it looks like. We're going to stand on one leg, and then we're going to bring this leg through its full range of motion. And we're going to target that full range of motion sort of using 4 different positions. The first one looks like this. We're going to bring the leg down and back. From the side, it looks a little bit like this. We're trying to stand up kind of straight, but we're flexing the hamstrings, flexing the glutes, trying to pull this leg back, feeling the stretch in the front of the hip flexor. And then from here, we're going to lift our leg directly to the side, working the muscles here in the hip. We're trying to bring the ankle as high as the knee. Then we're going to rotate that leg so that the knee is now pointing up. We're trying to lift that knee as high as possible, then bring it all the way across back to the front, and then that is 1 rep. I know the first time you see it, it's a little confusing, especially because I turn from side to side to show you what things look like. Don't worry, from now on, I'll do them facing you, so it'll be easier to mirror me. Let's go. Pull that leg back, side, ankle, knee, back, side, side, ankle, knee, back, side, ankle, knee. That's 4. Back, side, ankle, knee. That's 5. We're doing 10 in total. 6. Really try to push that end range of motion. The longer you spend in those tough positions, the stronger your muscles will get to be. We're only doing 10, a little bit every single day. And slowly over time, it'll be like magic. You'll find that you'll be able to lift your legs much higher. You should see where my legs looked on day 1, like a year ago. We only do 10 reps of these a day, right? If you go to Instagram at splits on the side, same username, you'll be able to find those videos, and they'll look a little goofy, but you'll be able to see the range of motion is completely different. I've increased it by a ton, but doing a little bit every day. All right, same thing. Let's go to the other side. Back, side, ankle, knee, back. Ooh, my hips just cracked in like 3 places. Side, ankle, knee, back, side, ankle, knee, back, side, ankle, knee, back, side, ankle, knee, back, side, ankle, knee. I think this is like 5 or 6 I got. Oh, I saw a chat come in, but I can't really read it from here because the font is way too small and I'm way too far away from the camera because you got to be able to see my whole body doing these things. So I was squinting at the camera trying to see if I recognize the little tiny face circle thing. And I don't. I can't. But because I was doing that, I completely lost count. I'm pretty sure we've done 10. And with that, we are done with our first warm-up exercise. I hope your hips are feeling a little warmed up, a little bit more loose. You might be a little bit tired, sort of in the hips, in the sides, especially if there is an angle that you don't use very often. I imagine most people aren't doing martial arts kicks type things. So these 2 sides might be feeling a little tired, and that's okay. It's a great sign. We're doing just a little bit, and that part is done. Let's get ready to get into part 2. And Backside ankle knee. That is correct. That is exactly what I chant the whole time. Backside ankle knee. Do I need to start slow due to bad knees and obesity? You don't need to start slow. You just need to start at whatever your body is capable of doing at the moment. All right. If you are really struggling, for example, to lift your legs up in some of these positions, then take it slow, right? In the time that it takes me to do 10, maybe you can only do 5. And that's absolutely okay. As long as you're putting in the effort to lift that knee as high as possible, rotating the leg as much as possible, opening up the hip as much as possible, you're hitting each of these points to the best of your ability, then it doesn't matter how many that you can do or how fast you can do them. What we care about most is setting some time aside for you to do the thing, the hard thing. Okay. Um, we got a lot of people really excited about a number, and Mia says, "Lo, I am positive I did not do that correctly." That is 100% okay. And the reason why I say that is because this whole thing is more about consistency than it is about perfection. And this kind of is going to sound a little bit like the opposite of the advice I just gave 30 seconds ago. But hear me out. What we're doing long term is we're trying our best to stay consistent so that we can make progress. If today you didn't do the move perfect, that's okay. I spend way too much time explaining every single day. And so you got chances, you got opportunities, and we can just shake this off and move on to the next thing. If you got most of the principles of the movement today, when you get a couple more new ideas about it tomorrow, by the end of the week, you're going to have a full picture of exactly what we're trying to do, and you'll start to understand what the goal is. If it's your first time ever, especially if I'm just going like, "Wah," it's really confusing because there's a lot going on. And I'll just say what the goal of each movement is so that you can start to think about that as we do the movement and see if you're maybe hitting that goal in your own small way. Okay, let's see anything else. Funny Bunny Vibes says hello, hello. And Ramona Sykes says, I'm so glad I found this. I love that you are here and you're contributing to the good vibes, right? Like, I'm trying to be positive, have a good time while we do kind of hard stuff, right? Like, it's not easy to get your act together and go, okay, I'm gonna go stretch today. And so I'm trying to make sure that I'm part of the good half of the internet where we come together, we try to make it fun, we try to do hard things together and practice consistency because at the end of the day, it takes a whole bunch of effort over a long period of time to make real positive change. And I hope to support you in that. And you're supporting me, right? Like you'll see later, I can't do the full splits yet. And I'm working on it as my own personal goal. And I just want to make sure that we had a really cool space where we can do that together. All right. So if you haven't yet and you're just joining in, you're not Ramona, who loves this, make sure to hit follow, hit subscribe, get notified. Make sure to keep coming back so that we can practice consistency together. Okay. What did we just finish? We just did the first set of hip cars that look a little bit like this. The goal is to get full range of motion in your hips using your own muscle power. So that looks like lifting your knee as high as possible. It looks like opening up your leg as wide as possible, keeping that knee high. It looks like rotating your hip bone because it's a ball and socket, which basically means it has a lot of range of motion. And so, for example, you can sort of do all of this with your leg, right? And so we want to try our best to get as much range of motion using our own muscle power. That's the premise. And somebody whose name I've now forgotten at this point was talking about whether or not they did the thing correctly. It's okay if you don't do it correctly. We got plenty of time to work on it and make it better. Okay, that was hip cars. Let's move on into warm-up exercise number 2. We're doing the elephant walk. And to do the elephant walk, we're basically getting into this L-ish shape, and we're working on our hamstrings by bending one knee at a time. So we can start with left knee is bent, right leg is straight, and we try to bring our belly button down to the ground. You don't have to be super intense on this first couple of reps. Take it nice and slow, as gentle as you need to be. Because I know it's probably your first time all day doing this much bending, and your body is not quite ready for too much intensity, right? That's all right. I got you. We're gonna take it nice and slow. We're gonna kind of do a little dance. Gonna slowly loosen up those muscles and get them ready. If you are a little bit more stiff and you're not quite as low down, and this is the best that you can do, or maybe even up here, that's totally fine. It's part of the process. As long as you're feeling a nice stretch in these hamstrings, we're doing exactly what we need to do. Okay? But that's not to say if you can get down here that you should be all the way up here because we can do that. I want you to try your best. I want you to feel the hamstring stretch. I want you to try to bring your belly button to the ground. Okay? Okay. Now that we've done a whole bunch of these, and you know the goal is to keep on trying to bring your belly button down, I hope you've attempted, after you've gotten a little bit more warmed up, a little bit looser, to bring your belly button even further down to the ground. If you're wondering why I keep on talking about the belly button, is because we really care about our hips. All right? The hips are this ginormous set of bone right here. And we care about the hips and the belly button because the top of your hip is probably like right here, and your belly button is right here. They're like 1.5 inches apart. So if your pelvis is moving in the right direction, your belly button is probably also moving in the right direction. If we are in this position, my back can do a whole bunch of stuff right now. I can go up here, I can go down there, and my belly button barely moved. So there's a lot of stuff you can do to make yourself feel really good. But we're focusing on the belly button because that is the closest thing to the actual thing that we care about. Um, that's not to say we care about perfect form all the time. If you need to relax, if you need to bend your back, that's totally fine. We care about the belly button because we really care about the angle of the hip. All right. That's a lot of elephant walks. I hope you've done a whole bunch. I hope your hamstrings are feeling a little bit looser. You're feeling a little bit better. I hope you might recognize that if you're feeling tight, all you need to do is take 30 seconds and sort of just pump your arms and walk around funny for a little bit, and your hamstrings can feel significantly better from just that. And if you take away nothing else, I hope you know that 30 seconds of very intentional warm up can make a life changing amount of difference in what your body is able to do. So if you're about to do something really fun, like hang out with your kids or a pet or your nieces and nephews, just do a tiny little bit of warm up and you'll have so much more fun. Okay, we just did elephant walks. Let's move on into the third and final warm up exercise. The last main movement based thing that we're going to do is called the Cossack switch. And this is going to be a little bit challenging, but I'm going to present it to you and I'm going to try and make it easier to do and harder to do. And let me know if you need any more changes to it. What we're going to do is we're going to check out our hip width, which is this right here. We're going to open up our legs about 3 times. So this is 2, that's about 3. And from here, we're going to point our toes out about 45-ish degrees to start. This is very flexible. We're going to adjust based on your individual system, but these are general guidelines to get you going in the right direction. All right. What we're going to focus on, and I'm going to scoot all the way over here so you can focus on just one leg, is we're going to drop all of our weight down to one side. For some people, it's going to be a little bit difficult. Maybe your muscles aren't strong enough to hold you up, and you might have to come up a little bit higher. That's totally okay. If you can, though, we want to try to push forward in a way that our knees and our toes are in the same line. All right. So if your toes are pointing this way, right in front of you, you want your knees to travel in that same line. If you're not careful, and if your ankles and your hips are a little bit tight in certain places, it might happen that your knee will cave in this way to the left. That's tough because it puts a whole bunch of pressure on your knee ligaments, and we don't want that. The other direction it could go is to the outside, and we also don't want that. There's a time and a place to train those things. We're not doing that today. So focus on keeping your knees over your toes. All right. And this has nothing to do with the angle that we're pointing our leg out when we're doing this position. Okay, because as you can see, it's possible to point your legs directly in front and still have knees traveling over toes. I can point my legs to 45 degrees, square my hips up to you guys again, and still get knees over toes. I can, wow, my quads are getting really tired demonstrating this. I can open my legs out almost 180 degrees to the right. And if I'm very thoughtful, I can still get knees to travel over toes. And that isn't to say that you are physically capable of getting into that position right now. What I'm saying is you should be if you train hard enough and consistently enough and you focus on the thing, right? We're not trying to get 180, we're not trying to get 90, we're trying to get somewhere in the middle where you should be relatively capable of without putting that much stress on the muscles that are going to pull your knee in or push your knee out. So figure out where your leg is going to go and try your best to drop down into this position where knees are going the same direction as your toes. All right, next up, while you're here, I want you to focus on pressure. You're going to feel some pressure in the front of your ankle. You're going to feel some pressure in that hip. And I want you to feel the stretch in this Achilles tendon over here. If at any point something is way too intense, you can always dial it back and come back into standing. Come back, put your arms on your leg to support your body a little bit. Lean further forward, come further back, whatever you do to adjust. Okay? Whew, okay, super in-depth explanation today on the Cossack switch. Once you are in this low position, as low as you can get, you might be up here. I want you to focus on trying to get to the other side. We've hung out here on this side for quite a while, and we want to get to the other side. And that might look like this. You put your hands down, support yourself, and then bring your butt slowly over to the other side. And we are here doing the same thing on this side. Feeling the pressure in the front of the ankle, feeling the pressure in the hip, feeling that stretch in the Achilles tendon. And we're just going to chill out here for a little bit longer because we spent so much time on the other side. It's only fair to spend a little bit of time here. And while we're waiting here, and the muscles chill out a little bit, I want to talk about this thing that I'm doing with my other foot. Normally, when we're standing, our toes are pointing towards the camera, I guess. And when we are doing the Cossack switch, I want you to, as you get more comfortable, experiment with getting into position where your toes are pointing up and your knee is pointing up and your heel is down. If it's your first time ever trying this position, it's going to be hard. You don't have to get it today. Don't worry. I'm just talking about potential future goals. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because this is called leg external rotation. It's because we're rotating the leg external to the body, and that is how the toes point up. We need this position a little later during the side split. So I'm pointing out now, giving you an idea of how it looks, giving you a chance to play around in that position so you know how it feels. So that when we do use it for the side split, it's a little easier to get into. Okay? Whew. All right. We've hung out on either side for a little bit. Now, our goal is to strengthen the muscles that help us get into this position. We want to strengthen the muscles here in these legs. We want to stretch them out as we move across and get into this deep position. We want to work on our balance when we're this low to the ground. There's a lot of balancing going on because you're trying to figure out how to balance on this hip, right? Leaning too far forward, leaning too far back. Are your ankles flexible enough? Are your hips mobile enough? Maybe your chest is leaning really far forward, maybe your butt is really far back. And those are all normal adjustments that your body is going to make as you try and figure out this position as you get stronger in this position. You might notice if your chest is really far forward, maybe your low back is getting tired from hanging out like this. I'll demonstrate from the side so you can see what the side profile looks like. When you have tight ankles, for example, and your knees can't go far forward, your chest wants to be all the way in front to help you stay balanced, right? And over time, that might make your back really, really, really tired. When you start having much better ankle flexibility, you might notice that you can stand up a little bit straighter. But when you stand up straighter, you'll notice that there's a whole bunch more balancing that needs to happen, and other muscles will start getting tired. So, whatever you do, you're gonna get tired. It's gonna be hard, and those are all just little adjustments that will come with time. All right, but we talked about it being difficult. Let's talk about what we're doing to get across from side to side and little adjustments that we can make to make it maybe a little bit easier, maybe a little bit more less painful, not more or less painful, just less painful. If your knees are a little achy here because this position is too deep for you, and I'm so sorry I forgot about you, you can come back up into a higher position. Your knees don't have to go as deep. All right. So that might mean this leg bone is going straight up and down versus this really sharp angle forward. That might mean instead of bring your butt across as low as we did, you come slightly higher up, come across, and then drop down to wherever you're comfortable. That might also mean you don't want to come that low at all. Maybe we want to come into a full squat and then come down. If these positions are all really hard for you, you can totally grab a chair in front of you to give yourself a little bit more support to help you up. I'm not going to use a chair because that would get in the way of the camera, but it is a totally viable way to make this movement a little bit easier and to give yourself a little support and use your arms. Okay, we've hung out in the Cossack switch. We've gone from side to side for quite a while. I hope you've learned a whole bunch about what we're trying to do and different ways that it can be tweaked and different ways it can adjust. Whatever you do today doesn't have to be perfect. You kind of know the direction to explore the movement, and that's all you need to know. Okay, let's get into the first stretch. We just finished all of the warm up, all of the movement stuff. You should be a little bit sweaty, if not very sweaty, and I am out of breath. Relax, take a nice big deep breath, and we're going to get into some stretches. The first thing we're going to do is a hamstring stretch, and we're going to do that kneeling. So I recommend you go grab a pillow or a cushion to pad this knee real quick. That might mean you go steal a cushion from the couch, might mean you roll up a towel, maybe grab an old flip-flop, just throw it under there because it is almost cold out and you're not going to use those flip-flops again for a couple months. They can now become your knee padding. Okay. Oh, that was just warm up. But the way we want warm up to be is just intense enough that you feel prepared for anything else that's to come. It's going to be more intense, not because we're using our muscles and we're working so hard to like lift our bodies up and go from side to side. We're going to be mostly stretching from this point on, and the warm up helps get the body ready to get into those stretches and get into those stretches a little bit more comfortably. Okay, when you go into it cold, I'm going to exaggerate this a little bit. When you go into it cold, maybe if you're trying to do a hamstring stretch and you're like stuck here, you're just like, wow, this is an awful hamstring stretch. It hurts so much. And I feel like I'm so far away from anything. After the warm up, you might be down here. This is almost true of what I'm capable of after the warm up. This is my full maximum stretch in this position. And if we didn't take the time to warm up, I'd probably be much closer to 90 degrees. And that would make it so much more difficult for you to get the stretch that we want to get out of the 30 seconds that we're going to do the actual hamstring stretch for, right? So we do the warm up in part because we want to do a little bit of strengthening. We want to do a little bit of mobility and joint movement to get everything sort of lubricated and ready to do stuff. But at the same time, when our bodies are warmer, it's easier for us to get into a stretch that's actually useful. If we skip the warm up, we'd be doing the stretch in like this part of the movement, right? But because we warmed up, we can do the stretch in this part of the movement, way down here. And that's what the warm up is for. All right. I'm gonna come in, check the chat real quick to see if there's anything I need to address. Manish, welcome back. Liverpool, welcome back. And let's see. Ganowski says, I'm tired, but this feels good. Awesome. Watch that Achilles tendon. I have a tiny tear in mine. That is a very good point to make, actually. If you have pain and discomfort or known injuries, please take it way more carefully than I would because I don't think I have those same injuries. And if you have repeated sort of swelling or something uncomfortable over time, then maybe you don't want to go as hard in some of the movements that we are doing. And this would be an opportunity to go a little bit slower and more, how do I say this? Not be greedy, right? If you are starting to run for the first time, it would be crazy for you to go do a 5K or a 10K or a marathon, right? And the same applies to if you have an injury. I would argue this isn't the most intense thing on the internet that you can do. But if there's something that feels like is at the edge of your capability, on one hand, I do want to challenge you to push what you think you're capable of, because I think most people are capable of way more than they give themselves credit for. And part of that is never having warmed up, right? Like if you watch something real cool on YouTube and you try to do something similar, you're like, wow, I cannot do that at all. I'm nowhere close. I promise if you were warmed up, you spent like 10 more minutes preparing for doing that thing, you'd probably be like 50% more effective in compared to when you were doing it cold. So I think most people underestimate what they're capable of because they just don't know. And on the other hand, when you have an injury, I think most young people overestimate their capability because they have recovered fast and things have just disappeared and they didn't have to think about it very much. And so you got to play the balancing game somewhere, depending on how you feel, your past injuries, things that have made you uncomfortable. I think for most things, moving more is going to help you become stronger and help you recover better and help you do more things in life and make life a lot more fun. But if you move so much that you get more injured, then we're going in the wrong direction. So we don't ever want to do things that are definitely going to bother you. Okay. I can't tell you what's going to bother you because I just don't know you well enough, and this is the internet. So at some point, you're just gonna have to decide. I'm gonna try this really, 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 really gently, a tiny little bit today, and I'm gonna stick with that very, very gentle version for a week to test it, make sure everything is good. And if everything is still feeling good, then I'm gonna push it a little bit further the week after. We do so many different exercises. You don't have to take every single one at 100%, 110%, 150%. You can take some at 70% and slowly play with it until you feel confident. All right. Okay. Long tangent, but hopefully that is helpful. And I have no idea what we're doing. We're doing a hamstring stretch. Man, we are early. Okay. In the hamstring stretch, I want you to focus. I hope you've grabbed your flip flops, your towels, your cushions, because we're getting started. We're focusing on bringing the hips directly in front. You might have seen some other side split, front split videos where people have their hips kind of turned out. And we don't want that. We want everything to face forward. So point your chest at the camera or your phone, point your hips at the phone. We don't want your hips to rotate. Okay. It's not that important for the hamstrings, but it's just a good habit to get into because it helps you control your body a little bit better. Okay. What are we doing? We're dropping down onto one knee. Make sure that one's the one that's padded. And then we're sticking this leg directly in front. So the hips are pointing that way. You want your legs pointing that way. And you want to, again, focus on the belly button. Bring the belly button down towards that leg. Okay. As you get further and further down or closer to the leg, your hamstrings are going to get tighter and tighter, and they're going to be more and more unhappy. And that's 100% part of the process. I want you to take a nice big deep breath in and a nice slow exhale and see if you can relax just a little bit in that deep stretched position that you're already in. If it helps, take a couple more gentle, nice, calm breaths. And Once you feel like you've gotten over like the worst of the pain, let's work on trying to bring the belly button deeper into the thigh for the next 30 seconds. That's how long I'm going to hold the stretch. I'll count us in. Let's go. 30, 29, 28, 27. I'm going to rotate. You don't have to move. 26, 25, 24, 23, 22, 21. Remember to breathe. 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7. Remember, belly button to the thigh. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay, come on out of that stretch. Oh, if you did that right, might have felt like your leg was going to rip out of, I don't know, the hip. But as soon as you stopped, the pain, the discomfort probably went and disappeared. Just went, whoosh, it's gone. Suddenly the whole leg is working and it's just fine. Hopefully. If that is not the case, you should probably stop. If that is the case, then we're good to keep going because you stopped the stretch, the discomfort stopped. If you stopped the stretch and discomfort continued, then something changed. Or, I mean, if your hamstring was uncomfortable the whole entire time, then nothing changed. But if you did the stretch, you're super uncomfortable doing the stretch, and then you stopped doing the stretch and the discomfort went away, that means you just worked on the stretch and everything's good. But if the pain has continued, then you probably want to dial back that intensity and figure out why that is. And I am so sorry. I have no idea why that would be. So I cannot be helped or I cannot be of service in this moment. But if your pain has subsided, we're ready to move on. Let's go. Other side. Knee straight down. Leg straight out in front of you. Focus on the belly button. Fold down. Oh, once it gets super tight and you start groaning and can't talk, take some nice big deep breaths. Slowly exhale. Try to relax into this stretch. And take a couple extra breaths. Let's go. 30 seconds. 30, 29, 28, 27, 26. If you feel like you can, I want you to try to push your belly button down towards that leg. I want you to try doing these tiny little itty bitty pulses. See if you can get your hamstring to loosen up and move around a little bit while we're going. For most people, your tendons and your muscles will stop you or will start feeling the stretch long before you're at the limits of what the muscle or what the tendon can handle. And that is part of your brain's defense mechanism to keeping you safe. And when we do stretches like this, slowly adjusting and doing slight little tiny movements, unless you've been training a lot outside of this, you should be fine. Your body will stop you long before you're hitting the limits of what you're capable of. It's when you start doing super intense, explosive, powerful stuff that you might get injured. That would be something like going maximum speed, like sprinting after a lot of working out and not being loose, going from 0 to 100 instantaneously. That's when you get injured. We've been slowly warming up. We've been moving. We've been getting the blood flowing. And now we're getting into these stretches nice and slow. Your body will tell you, for the most part, if it's a bad idea. And you should listen to it if it's a bad idea. But if you come out of the stretch and it doesn't hurt after like 2 seconds, then you're good to keep going. All right. I'm pretty sure we held that stretch for longer than 30 seconds. So you can come right on out of that and we can move on to our second stretch. You can get rid of the cushion, you can get rid of the pillow, get rid of the chancla, the flip-flops. We're getting to stretch number 2, and that is called the butterfly. It looks a little bit like this. We're bringing our feet together and we're trying to bring our knees to the ground. And this stretch is a stretch for the groin muscles. everything in that crotch area. If you do the butterfly stretch like this, it's a little bit harder to push the knees down. And I'm going to show you a way to make it way more effective. You're going to have to become best friends with your wall, though. We're going to move, or I'm going to move to that wall behind me. And I'm going to put my hips, my shoulders, my head against that wall. So now I have really straight posture back. I'm going to get rid of these socks because they're way too slippery on the tile floor. I won't be able to stay stuck in the position I want to be in. If you feel like you'll slide around too, go ahead and take off your socks. You're going to have to take them off for the next stretch because the next stretch is a standing pancake and it's going to be way scarier with socks on. So you might as well take it off now. Okay. We pull our feet in and we try to bring our knees down again. You might not have noticed that my knees are already much closer to the ground than when I was standing or when I was sitting right there. And the whole entire reason is because we have something against our back to give us a little bit of support. And if you don't believe me, keep an eye on the angle of my leg. I'm going to come right over here. I'm going to try and do the same thing. And I don't know what it is, but I have to work harder to bring my leg down to get to that same position. My casual, relaxed position makes me want to fall backwards, and I have to hold myself down. And the further I have to hold myself down, the higher up my knees naturally want to come, and I have to work extra hard to bring my knees down. So use the wall. It'll help you keep a better posture, and it'll help you get into a deeper groin stretch. I hope this horrible example that I've never done in the past. So that was my first time trying that example. Was proof enough that you can just believe me. Use the wall. Okay. All right. Once we're here, I want you to use these outer thigh muscles, these glutes, to really open up your hips. Okay. And I'm saying a whole bunch of different stuff. We're stretching out the groin. We're opening up the hips. A lot of those words typically are used very interchangeably, and it can be really confusing. But just pretend I didn't say any of those things and bring your knees to the ground. Okay. Like technically they're all true, but I want you to focus on bringing your knees to the ground. That will be the most straightforward thing that you can do to open up this groin stretch. And you might feel it when you're contracting those muscles, trying to bring the knees down. You're starting to feel a stretch here on this inner thigh, in between where the leg and your pelvis connect. And once you have opened up as far as you can't go any deeper, let's add a little bit of power from our hands. So your head, your shoulders, your butt should be touching the wall right now. I want you to take your hands and I want you to push into your legs, right around the knee area, right below the knee. And you'll notice, if you're doing this right, that suddenly there's a whole bunch of pressure in the back of your head and maybe your shoulders. If that's the case, it's perfect. Keep pushing. Because the wall is behind us, just like how it helped us to get into a deeper sort of seated position, is currently helping us open up our legs because we're basically pushing our legs against the wall and then having our arms and upper body sort of be like an intermediate piece of bone. That is a terrible explanation of what's happening. Doesn't matter. As long as you're pushing your knees down, we're going to do this for 30 seconds. Keep on contracting these muscles. 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, 24, 23, 22, 21, 20. Remember to breathe. Really flex those muscles. Open up that groin as much as you can. Apply power through your arms. 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Figured out a way better way to make my earlier point. Right now, because I'm leaning against the wall and I'm pushing my knees down with all that extra power, my knees are basically touching the ground. If I was all the way over there where we started this, there's just no way I would have been able to get into a stable enough position for me to push my knees down to the extent that we got just now. Okay, so that's why we use the wall. And I should have started with that. Lesson learned. Okay, we're moving into the third stretch. Is a standing pancake. And shake out your legs. If that was your first really intense groin stretch of the day, they might feel a little bit weird. Maybe you want to like rotate your legs in and out a little bit, like we're doing a dance. Once your legs are starting to feel a little bit more normal again, we're going to get into the standing pancake. The standing pancake looks a little bit like this. We're going to open up our legs nice and wide. This is why I told you earlier we're going to get rid of the socks, because this position is really scary with socks. All right. We're going to open up our legs until it gets a little bit uncomfortable here in the hip joint. Then we're going to fold forward and boom, this is standing pancake. Oh man, my hip bones just made a whole bunch of creaky sounds. Okay. Once you are here in this position, talk about this. This upper body situation right here is gravity's gift to, or I mean, this is what we're given to gravity, so that gravity can help us do really good stretching. Okay. The more stuff we put sticking out of our hips this way, the more intense we're going to feel gravity pulling us down. And we want gravity to do as much work for us as possible, because that's what it's there for. It's always there holding us back, so we might as well put it to work. So, what are we already covering? We're opening up the legs. We're folding up at the hips. We're trying to elongate the body to get as much leverage as possible so that gravity can pull us down into a deeper stretch. The pancake, the goal of the pancake is to bring your head in between your legs and sort of fold in half. It's really hard to do that, and that's why we let gravity help us as much as we can. That's it. Let's go. We're going to hold this stretch for 30 seconds. You can imagine pointing your butt behind you a little bit and use that to help counterbalance putting the arms out. And we're going to hold this position for 30 seconds. If it's too intense, you can always reduce the intensity, put your hands down, whatever you need to do. Let's go. 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, 24, 23, 22, 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All right. Okay. Come back into standing. Take a quick break. If you did that right, you're feeling the stretch in two main places, and you're probably really tired. So I talk a lot here in this part intentionally so that you can have a little bit of a break. We're going to feel that stretch on the inner thighs. Oh, and that's because the jobs of these muscles on the inner thighs is basically to bring your leg inwards towards the center of your body. Technically, it can go further across that way, but that's the job of this muscle. So anytime your leg goes out, that muscle is getting stretched. The other thing you should be stretching, or you should be feeling, is that hamstring muscle in the back. The hamstring connects from below the knee into the hips directly. And basically, anytime you fold forward, your hamstrings are getting a lot of love and are screaming at you for folding forward. Doesn't matter if your legs are together or if your legs are apart. If you're folding forward, your hamstrings are working. So, hope you enjoyed the standing pancake. It is definitely one of the most challenging stretches. But it's also one of those things that look super impressive when you can start doing them. And hopefully you made a little bit of progress. You got a sample of the experience and you appreciate the challenge. All right, let's move into stretch number 4. It is the figure 4 stretch. It's called the figure 4 because we're bringing the ankle across our body. And if you kind of look at it, just chop off the top half of my body, looks like the number 4. We're bringing that ankle up pretty high as we can. We're trying to bring our chest down. Basically, we're trying to bring our belly button to the leg. All right. Everything's about the belly button. Everything's about folding and bringing it to the ground. There's 2 ways to do this. One is called the pigeon stretch. So that ankle is still up. We're trying to bring our belly button down to that leg and basically fold forward, trying to keep the hips low and the chest low. That's the pigeon stretch. The figure four stretch alternative, or so the alternative to the pigeon stretch is on our back. So you can choose which one is more comfortable to get into. I find that the figure four is a little easier to get into, but you have to work a little bit harder. So for the figure four, we're taking that leg we want to stretch, we're bringing it across our body, we're placing it just underneath the opposite knee, getting that nice across the body angle. Then we're reaching our arms through the leg and pulling it in for a nice stretch. You should feel the stretch out here in the hip. Oh man. Ooh. Give me a second. TikTok is giving me a captcha to make sure that I'm actually here going live and not messing around. Okay, back. Let's go. Figure four stretch. We're crossing the leg over the body, or across the body, or reaching through, pulling it in. And we're going to hold this for 30 seconds. Pick which stretch you want to do. Let's go. 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, 24, 23, 22, 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16. I'm going to rotate. You don't have to move. 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Once we're done with this stretch, we're getting into the side splits. So if you've been waiting for those, they're coming right up. They're coming next. All right. I'm going to demonstrate the pigeon for this second stretch so I don't have the rest of you feeling left out for the people who did the figure four. Okay, we'll bring this leg across the body. We're trying to keep this ankle from tucking inwards, so applying a little bit of pressure. We're trying to bring our chest down, but we're trying to keep our hips low as well. It defeats the purpose if you end up looking like this with your butt up and your head down. We want to keep the hips low and the chest low. All right, I hope you're in position. Let's go. 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, 24, 23, 22, 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. I forgot to mention, if you have tight hips and you can't get nearly as far down as I just did, it is totally fine. If you are at this angle and you're feeling stuck, it's totally fine. If you want to just relax a little bit and hang out like this with your chest rounded and your head rounded, as long as you're still feeling that stretch in this glute area, then you're good. Just because you're not all the way down there doesn't mean you can't do the stretch just as effectively for where you're at. Okay? Okay. It's been a really long time since I've come back to the camera. And part of the reason for that is because I feel like I've been talking so much that I am falling behind on the workout. And so I thought I was going to catch up by just going ahead and doing stuff. Let's see. I'm going to scroll through the chat real quick. I'm going to check YouTube because usually there are fewer messages and it'll be easier to get through all of it real fast and feel good. Alette, welcome back. It's good to see you. Yeah, have a good night. I'm sorry that you needed to go. Okay. Back to TikTok. Daedril, thank you for following. Bryce, I'm glad you appreciated the advice. Marks, I hope that everything I do does actually help you get into the splits better, because that's the goal. That's the intention. That's what I'm doing. So, I hope I'm not sabotaging myself. Wine Human followed. Thank you for following. Rose Roy, Chelsea, thank you. Thank you. Soju Cat asks, my knees are touching the ground and I don't feel a stretch. Should I lean forward to get a deep stretch? Okay. My knees are touching the ground and I don't feel a stretch. Soju Cat, let me know if that was a recent comment because I don't see the timing of that, and obviously I was really far away. Uh, but we can address that in a little bit. Mia says, I have a tendency to lock my knees. Is that okay? In general, it's probably okay if you lock your knees. But if you're worried about it, try your best not to lock your knees. And what do I mean by that? Well, I guess I should start with it really depends on what you think locking your knees means. When I hear you say locking my knees, I imagine that you're like really straightening out your leg really, 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 really hard. That's what I think that means. And if you're hyper mobile in the joint, some people might instead of creating a straight line, it'll look like the knee is going like this, like you're going further out. If that's a situation that you have, then blocking out is probably not going to be very good for you, especially if you're putting pressure onto that leg, like so in the hamstring stretch. If you're locked out at your end range of motion, and that kind of means the knee is going in the opposite direction, it's starting to look like this, then you want to keep that knee ever so slightly bent until you've got this new range of motion memorized. And you'll still be able to lock out because that's what you're physically capable of doing, but it'll be easier on your joint if you never really reach that extent and put full body weight and full pressure into it. Um, if you have relatively normal levels of flexibility, then it's not so much of an issue. But if you have discomfort or you have pain, then try your best not to lock out. If you're in a hamstring stretch and your knee is starting to hurt, especially because you did lock out a bunch of times, if we were doing the hamstring stretch, for example, you can focus on try to bring your chest down to touch the leg, keeping this leg bent, and then slowly extending that leg out so that this leg starts bent and it stays bent for most of the hamstring stretch instead of what we were doing, which was extending this leg out straight and then bring our belly button down. You're still working the hamstring stretch, just from a slightly different approach. Okay. I hope that's useful and is good information. Let's keep going. Bryce is feeling the burn. Awesome. Ramona. Whoa. Okay. Hold on. Have it. I'm feeling the burn. I will be doing those when I get off work. Awesome. That was for the butterfly. Oh, okay. You're all the way down with your knees to the ground and you're not feeling a stretch at all. Then you have probably really good flexibility. If your back is also straight up and down and stuff like that, then your groin is really good and you don't have to stretch it. But I would probably recommend that you work purely on strengthening those muscles. And strengthening the groin muscles is generally a little bit weird, but I also will go into it. I'll just make a note to cover that later. Soju Cat, I'll send you a message. Um, Anna says, can you tell us what we're focusing on? We're doing side split stuff. And I am going to scroll through these chats real quick to see if there's anything else I need to address real quick, and then we'll come back to it. Awesome. How can I fix my anterior pelvic tilt? The anterior pelvic tilt is hard because, like I said earlier, the hamstring connects through all of these different parts of your body, right? There's way more muscles in your hips that all work together to make them kind of work. And on one hand, uh, posterior pelvic tilt looks kind of like this, right? Like we're popping our butt out. Anterior pelvic tilt. Wait. Oh my God. Now that I'm imagining all the things, I'm forgetting the logo. Okay. Posterior and anterior pelvic tilt basically looks like this. One looks like you're twerking, basically, right? Those are the differences. And in general, it puts less pressure on the spine when your butt is tucked towards the front of your body. Most people happen to have a problem where the butt is going a little bit like this. All right. I'm exaggerating, obviously. And there's a couple of things you can focus on, like right now during the exercise, to get you into a better position. The first thing is to contract your abs. If your abs are contracted, it's easier for you to tuck your hips in. And that is like an instant thing that you can do to get into a better hip position. But for long term, how do you not rest in this position where, like, for example, your hips are kind of forward, and because they're forward, you're kind of leaning back your upper body. And if you take this exact angle that I'm creating up here and we just shift it back, now my butt is popping out, right? Um, I don't know. I don't have a quick answer for that, to be honest, because posture and all of the things that we do to relax are so, the word isn't detrimental. You spend so much time in those relaxing positions, whether it's in a chair, whether it's just standing and chilling and sort of slouching and leaning and doing this or whatever, that 10 minutes of exercise is going to be really hard to undo the really long term thing that you're doing that's causing the pelvic tilt. And I think the first thing that you might want to consider focusing on is trying to reduce the amount of the not productive stuff that you already do, rather than focusing on doing more stuff that will counteract it, if that makes sense. Because you're fighting like a forest fire with a 10 minutes worth of exercise. You know, like that's it's a really hard proposition. But I hope that kind of helps. Kevin Leo asks, can you do the calves? The calves are there's two main calf muscles that you're stretching when you want to stretch the calves. Most people, it will look like this. You just bring your knee forward and you're creating this angle, making this angle smaller. The easiest way to get into calf stretch looks a little bit like this. You're kind of doing a push up and you just force your leg to go forward. When you're doing that push up position, you have a whole bunch more body weight sort of pushing your knee forward and getting you into that stretch. Alternatively, you can go to a wall or a chair, imagine there's a wall right here in front of my toe, and you can sort of put your toe up against this wall. And once you get to that maximum stretch in this position, you can try to almost hip thrust into the wall, and that will force your knee to go forward and it'll force you into a deeper stretch. You can also just bend your knee into the wall, but usually it's some combination of going like this to really work on that calf stretch. There's two main muscles in the calf. The other calf stretch is basically what we were just doing. But it can only be stretched when your knee is bent. So it looks, for the most part, something like this, where the leg is bent, you're leaning forward, and then you're getting a deep stretch in the calf muscle in the back. But generally, when people ask about the calf stretch, it's that other one where your toe is sticking against the wall, or you rotate it 90 degrees to the ground and you're feeling that calf stretch here. Okay. Wow. We went on a super long tangent. Bryce says, yes, because I was trying to walk around with my abs contracted and it was not comfortable. It's definitely not comfortable. One of the other things you can do to adjust when you're doing an exercise is contract those glutes and flex the abs at the same time. If you're contracting both really hard, you should feel a release and reduction of pressure in that low back right here. And that might help a little bit when you're doing exercise, but it's not very helpful when you're trying to, just go about life, because then you start walking around like a tin man. If your glutes are like totally flexed the whole time, your legs can only move like so much. And if your abs are totally flexed, you also can't move anywhere. So all of this is locked up. But this position that I'm doing is very essential for a lot of moves. For example, if you have a really strong core and you have really strong abs, your push-up game gets really good, right? One of the common things that people talk about when you have a bad push-up is your hips are going down, your hips are hiked up. If your glutes are firing, your abs are firing, and you get really locked in, you get really strong push-ups. One of the benefits of that is you get to have really good one-arm push-ups, and you get to have really good skills that require that sort of stability. And one of them is called the hollow body hold, where you're really contracting your abs, you're contracting your glutes, you're staying really strong, and that helps you keep that strong position in positions like this, like a handstand. So there are benefits to practicing contracting the core, flexing the glutes really hard for long periods of time and getting really strong in that position. I think if you just do a lot of those for fun, then it will help. It won't necessarily solve your pelvic tilt issue right off the bat, but if you have something else that's really fun that you're training for, that you're doing, it'll make it much easier for you to want to do those hard contractions and just do the stuff that will slowly strengthen your glutes and your abs, right? Okay, we have gone on so many side tangents. I read that it's bad for the pelvic floor to walk around with abs engaged all the time. Oh yeah, it's you definitely don't want to actually walk around with your abs engaged all the time, especially at the level that I was demonstrating and sort of exaggerating, where my whole body is hunched over from my abs. Um, but you want a natural amount of tension in a lot of them. Like your muscles are never totally 100% relaxed. Okay. They all hold some amount of tension to keep your body together, right? Like the bones only line up if they perfectly line up. The tendons kind of like support things a little bit, but your muscles hold a little bit of tension at all times so that you can exist. And um, we're by training, we're hopefully. Oh, okay. I got an example. When people train their abs a ton, right? And they finally get the six pack and they have those big lumps in their body, right? You're like, wow, that's crazy. When they go out of their way to flex those abs, they get even more crazy, right? Like when they flex, they'll also round the back and the muscles will look even more impressive and whatnot. And that's all good fun. But when they're casual and relaxed, you'll still see that the muscles. And that's because those muscles are just holding on to tension better than a less trained person with smaller muscles. At the end of the day, if you're totally relaxed, your muscle might not look very impressive. But like if you contract the muscle and it gets bigger, muscles will also grow. But a lot of the muscles that people are showing when you see them is just much higher levels of contraction compared to somebody who has not trained, right? Like I'm not trying to discount the hard work and us actual muscle growth, but there are really skinny people who have really, really beautiful muscles, right? Like they don't have big muscles, but they have very defined muscles. That's a lot of that is how much relaxed tension there is. Normal amounts of tension for them is higher than somebody who's not training at all and just super relaxed and chill all the time. I hope that makes a little bit of sense. Super roundabout way of talking about it. Throw in a lot of different pieces of information. Okay. Yeah, sleeper build. I think sleeper builds. Yeah, that's a really good point. Maybe that is something about sleeper builds where when they're casual, when they're relaxed, you don't see that muscle definition as much as somebody who's like really intense and has that other not sleeper build identity. And when they show you the muscles, when they go out of their way to contract and to like pull that tension to its maximum, you're like, oh shit, he's or she's got muscles, right? Like that's a really good point. Um, wow, I've never thought about it like that. Thank you for bringing up sleeper builds. Okay, I think we've covered everything in the chat. Let's get into the fifth and final stretch, our side splits. And before we do that, let's talk about safety. When we are doing the side splits and we're in this deep position, if we start falling forward, it's more or less easy enough to catch ourselves with our hands. But if we're falling backwards, it gets really scary. So what I recommend is you get really close to this wall. We're becoming best friends with this wall. You spent more time with this wall today than ever before, I'm sure. I mean, not for me, but maybe for you. And the reason why we like this wall is because if we lose balance, you can always fold and stick your butt into the wall, and maybe that will be enough to catch you. But say that it's not, and you're a little bit further away from the wall. If you're maybe 8 to 12 inches, 20 or 30 centimeters away from the wall, you start falling. Oh my God, I'm falling backwards. If the wall is really close to you, you'll just get stuck against the wall. Maybe it'll be a little bit embarrassing to crawl forward and come back out of that stretch. But at the very least, you'll stay safe. And at the end of the day, that's all I care about. I haven't fallen in a while, but I think last week I stumbled a couple of times right after telling people that I have enough experience that I don't really need the wall anymore. Immediately self-sabotaged and landed on my butt. So hopefully we don't do that. All right, let's get into the side split. Open up those legs nice and wide. Feel the pressure building up a little bit at the hips. Maybe it's a little bit uncomfortable. Don't let it get too uncomfortable. Fold forward. Put your hands down like you're about to do a push-up. We're not actually doing any push-ups, don't worry. But we are taking a little bit of that body weight and putting it into our arms so that it's easier to externally rotate the legs. If you were somehow on during the Cossack switch stuff, we talked about external rotation. That's when the heel is down, the toes are up, and the knees are pointing up, okay? This position basically rotates the leg bone out of the way so that it doesn't smash into the hip bone. And we don't need to go any further about that. Just makes it easier for your legs and your hips to get along. When you're here, you might notice you might have been a little bit uncomfortable before you folded down. And you might notice that now that you've externally rotated your legs, that maybe you're just magically slipping into a deeper position. That is the purpose of that leg rotation, to remove that discomfort in the hips that you were feeling. Okay, walk those hands back towards your hips as much as possible. If you're totally stuck, you can't go any further, you feel free to stop. But if you feel like you can put more of your body weight into your legs and work that stretch, bring your hands towards those legs and try to open them up a little bit further. See if you can do a wiggle from side to side to break that last little bit of friction holding your feet back from slipping into a deeper side split. And once you cannot move, once that contraction is getting so intense that you want to cry a little bit, let's go. 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, 24, 23, 22, 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All right, crawl forward. Oh, relax your legs if you want. Try to get back up into standing. Oh. And shake it out. Relax. What our bodies just did, what our legs just did during the side split was tighten up and get really, really, really painfully contracted. We want to undo all of that. And the best way to do that is to relax as much as possible. Shake, 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 wiggle, 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 wiggle. But mostly your legs. I know, my arms look the most ridiculous when we're doing it. And that might suggest that you should focus on relaxing your arms, but we care mostly about our legs. So shake, kick, flap, flutter, dance move, whatever you got to do, help your legs to relax. The more floppy they look, the more relaxed that they will be, because if you were flexing all of your muscles and they were all tense, you would look like a weird robot, right? Like you would have very sharp angles and it wouldn't be loose. Okay, once your legs are feeling loose, back to normal again. Let's do a couple of quick checks to make sure that they are actually good. We want to start with some hip circles. I call these hula hoops, just to get those hips, that low back sort of checked. We're going to do some high knees to make sure these hip flexors are good. We're going to do some mini squats to make sure our knees, our ankles, our toes are feeling good. And once all those are done, we can move on and go ahead and get into round 2 of side splits. But I want to emphasize again, when we do the side splits, sure, we're getting into the position. It's going to be really hard. It's going to feel awesome that you're like, I'm a badass. I pushed so hard into these side splits. But at the end of the day, if you want to master the side splits, you have to relax as much as you can. You want to get into that position and be able to chill as much as you can so that your muscles stop contracting so hard and fighting against you the whole entire time. And the best way to do that is to figure out how to relax as much as possible at any other moment in time, at every moment in time. And that's why we flap around and look like this. Okay, if you're having fun, if you're learning a lot, if you're doing exercises that you never thought you were ever going to do and you're enjoying it, make sure to hit follow, hit subscribe, get notified, do all those cool things. We do this every single day to practice consistency, both for you and for me, because it's way more fun to do hard stuff together with a whole bunch of other people than it is to do it by yourself in your room. And so I hope that together we can make a whole bunch of progress towards your side split goals. All right, let's go. Round 2. Same thing. Get close to that wall. If you fall backwards, the wall will catch you. Everybody will stay safe and happy. Let's get into the side splits. Open up those legs nice and wide. Fold forward at the hips. Put your hands down like you're about to do a push-up. Don't worry, we're not actually doing push-ups. We're just reducing some of that weight in our legs so it's easier to externally rotate. Externally rotating means your toes and your knees are pointing up. Your heel is down. And you might find your legs are opening up and you're just getting into a deeper stretch automatically. That would be awesome. Walk your hands back towards your hips and take a couple of nice, big, deep breaths. We're trying to relax, do that relaxing thing we talked about just a couple seconds ago. And it's going to be really hard because our body is fighting us. It doesn't want us to get into this position. And we're just forcing it to happen anyway. All right. That's it. If you feel like you can't get any deeper, you've already tried to do a little bit of a wiggle to break the friction, then it's time. 30 seconds. 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, 24, 23, 22, 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10. Whoa, that's 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All right. Lean forward, get back onto your hands, crawl forward, pull your legs together, and try your best to come back into standing. Take a couple of breaths, relax, recover from that horrible strain, and let's shake it out. Shake, 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 shake. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. Relax those muscles as much as we can in between our rounds of side split. And shake, 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 shake. When your limbs start looking like floppy fish, then we are doing good. Okay, quick check. Hip circles. Make sure nothing feels weird, nothing feels painful. High knees. Mini squats. Your knees, your ankles, your toes and feet. Everything feels good. Then we are ready to get back into round 3. Ms. Reynolds, sure enough, welcome. My turn to spam. Thank you, Tulanda. I appreciate it. Ramona says, wow, help. I don't know what happened. Welcome back to my video. I appreciate the likes. Thank you for spamming them, as always. Let's see. Yeah, Taraki, welcome, welcome. Thank you for following. All right. looks like there are no other things to respond to. Let's get ready to finish up. Round 3, side splits. Let's go. Stay close to the wall, so if you fall backwards, you stay safe. Open up those legs nice and wide. Feel that pressure building in hip joints. Pull forward, put your hands down, and externally rotate the legs, which means your toes are up, your knees are up, your heels are down on both sides. Walk your hands as far back towards your hips as you can. Take a couple of nice deep breaths here. And try a little bit of a wiggle from side to side. See if you can break that flex a little bit of friction and get slightly deeper. Once you cannot move, let's go 30 seconds, 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25. Try to keep these knees straight and not to bend them throughout the stretch. I'm not sure how you feel to do that, but I'm not capable of doing it. Doesn't mean you're not capable of doing it. So try to keep those knees straight. 20. Next, one other detail to add. Feel like you can push a little bit harder. Bend your elbows. You might find all of a sudden there's way more weight in your legs. 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All right, crawl forward. I mean, if you want, you can just lay down and just relax those leg muscles for a little bit. But once you can move again, come on back up into standing and let's shake it out. Shake, 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 shake. We are done with the stretches. We're just going to do a couple of quick checks to make sure our body is doing okay. And then you're off to go do whatever else you want to do for the rest of the day. Thank you so much for coming, hanging out, asking questions, engaging in the chat, being a wonderful part of the community. And shake, 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 shake. Once your legs are starting to feel almost kind of sort of normal again, we're going to do our quick checks. Hip circle. Oh. High knees. Pop mini squat. So your knees and ankles and toes are working. Then I like to kick my butt for good measure. And that's it. We are all wrapped up. Thank you for coming in, hanging out, and doing live side splits with me today. I am checking to see if there is anything else I need to address in the chat. Eugenia Christie 2215 says, thank you for the training, but here it's kind of late, so I have to start getting ready for bed. I hope that will manage to join for more. Keep up the great work. Thank you so much, Eugenia. I don't know if you're still on, but I appreciate the compliment, and I hope that we can figure out a better time for it. Thank you so much. All right, back to TikTok. Bryce says, thanks for all the help. Keep up the great work. Thank you. Trueline W. Thank you as well. All right, that's it. We are all wrapped up for today. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming in, asking questions, providing nice little bits of insight. I hope you got a lot of value out of the live. I hope you learned some cool stretches, learned some cool ways to do stretches that you might have known before, but didn't know how to do in a better way. And that's it from me. We have run super ultra long today because I think early on in the call, somebody expressed that they had lots of questions and were brand new. So I wanted to make sure that we were very thorough with our explanations. And so I appreciate that everybody else was here and stayed on, listened to all of the explanation that I gave, and kept on hanging out. Okay, thank you for coming in. Again, we practice consistency by doing this every single day and building this wonderful community of people engaging in the chat, asking questions, working on themselves. And hopefully that means all of us will make a whole bunch of progress towards our side split goals together, and everything goes in a cool direction that you want to go in. Okay, cool. I didn't know how to end that, so I just got over it. All right, Goldo X, welcome back. It's good to see you again. And don't worry. Yeah, I mean, maybe a little late because this is the longest I've ever done a live, actually. So yeah, you're a little bit late, but don't worry, we'll be back tomorrow. You didn't miss that much. Okay, that is it. I'm sorry, you just popped in, and I'm shutting it down. But I hope I'll see you tomorrow. All right. I think Cryptid Cupcake and Bryce and a couple of people have been on for pretty much the whole entire life. So I just want to give an extra big thank you for hanging out the whole entire time. It's awesome. I appreciate it. Thank you for the support. All right, that's it for me. Goodbye. I'll see you tomorrow.